Hello trainers, Professor Palm here, and can you believe it? 100 videos! This is the first video that I'm gonna make in the triple digits. It's crazy to think that I made it to 100 videos. I may have done all the videos on my own, but I never could have made it without any of you trainers. So thank you for everything. We could do so many things for the 100th special, but today I kind of wanted to make a little bit of a personal video. I wanted to go back and talk about the very first starter Pokemon I ever got. Yep, I want to talk about the very first Pokemon that made me the trainer and the Pokemon professor I am today. Well, I have a little bit of a story for all of you trainers, so sit tight, it's story time! It was my very first day in Little Root Town after we had just moved there from the Johto region. I went out to Route 101 and I heard the cries of Professor Birch. He was being chased by a wild Zigzagoon. He called out to me to help me get a Pokemon to save him. Well, I had a very hard decision to make. There were 3 Pokemon and I could only choose one. Oh boy, was that a crazy decision. But I guess you know exactly who I chose that day. Looking back, I could have easily gone with the Trico line. I could have easily gone as well with the Mudkip line as well. But nope, for me, it was the Torchic line. Yep, this was my very first starter Pokemon, and I got the entire line. It's a decision that changed my life forever. Mainly, I was a bird person, but to be fair, I couldn't have thought of a better starter Pokemon to start with than Torchic. I'm gonna be honest, I've been wanting to do an episode with Torchic, Combusken, and Blaziken for a very long time. I wanted it to be perfect, and I thought the most perfect idea was to get to episode 100. Thanks to you all, here we are, and we're gonna talk about this incredible line. I love this line so much, not only because I love bird Pokemon, but because it was the very first starter I ever had, and it made me the trainer that I am today. Without these guys, I wouldn't even be a Pokemon professor or even a Pokemon trainer. I'm pretty sure that your very first starter Pokemon has a very special place in your heart. After all, it made you the trainer that you are today, as well as a champion. Before we begin, I want to give a very special thanks to my fellow subscriber, Scorpion. You love this line? You requested it? Well, here it is, my friend. I hope that you enjoy this video to the fullest. I know how much you like this Pokemon, and you'll know how much I love this Pokemon too. Not just because it's my first starter, but because it has such a special place in my heart. But of course, Scorpion, you're not the only person that I'm going to be thanking today. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, this one is the Firebird Within. Techronova, I'd love to give you a very special thanks for my shirt. Since Torchic was my very first starter Pokemon, I couldn't think of a better shirt to wear than this one. This is the ultimate shirt for me to show how much I love Torchic and its entire line. If you're a fan of the Torchic line, it was your starter in the Hoenn region, or it was your very first starter like it was for me, then I'd personally say, please buy this shirt. It's such an incredible design, and it would be such a crime not to give a talented artist like Techronova good business. I may not be sponsored, but of course I want to say thank you for this awesome shirt. Also, I'm excited to see what else you're going to do, Techronova. Since we have a whole region of new Pokemon, I'm excited to see what's in store for you. Well, trainers, when it comes to chicken, how do you like yours? Do you like it fried? Do you like it grilled? Do you like it sautéed? Or do you really like it roasted? For me, I like mine hot. Blazing hot. So cluckin' blazing hot. Right now, I feel like Natsu Dragneel because I'm all fired up. Well, it's time to talk about these hot chicks. And where's a better place to start than the little chick itself? Torchic! Torchic the chick Pokemon is based on chicken hatchlings. All in all, it's a chick. Currently, Torchic is the very first stage of a starter Pokemon that has a gender difference. It's a very small difference, but here's where it is. If you look very carefully on the back of your Torchic's rear, you'll notice that a male will have a small black speck. As you can tell, mine is female because mine lacks the black speck. Torchic has a flame sac inside of its belly that burns endlessly. It's also a very brave Pokemon, as Torchic may be small, but it will never back down from a fight, and it's not even afraid to battle. When attacked, Torchic will spit fireballs from its stomach, and these fireballs are very dangerous as they can reach 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. Not only will you be burned by them, but you'll be blackened to a crisp. Torchic dislikes the darkness because it can't see its surroundings, and also it gets easily lost. It may be able to make its own flames and make itself a mini torch, but still, with all the obstructions, it can't really see well in the night, as well as it doesn't have night vision. Torchic like to stay very close with their trainer. Oftentimes, they make slow, uneasy steps as they like their trainer going forward. After all, they are chicks, and similar to chicks, they see you as a big Blaziken. So yeah, with you, they feel the safest they can be. And also, if you want to get really closer with your Torchic, just take it on walks. You guys will be as close as ever after that. If you want to give a Torchic affection, the best thing you can do is give it a huge hug. You see, Torchic love hugs. In fact, the moment you hug one of them, it glows bright with warmth. And yeah, being in a very cold place, hugging a Torchic will be equivalent to being in front of a bonfire. But then again, they do kind of ignite themselves and it may burn you. Geez, talk about warm hugs. I'm glad with the design that we got for Torchic. Its original design was a lot weirder looking. You see, back in the pre-alpha stage of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, they had some concept art of Torchic. You can definitely check it out online. It looks kind of similar, but instead, its flame top is on its back, and instead, upon its head, are two wing-like ears. I gotta say, I do wonder what that thing would have turned into, but I'm glad with what we have today. I don't know. Do you think that Torchic would have looked better with that, or do you like it the way it is? Torchic made its anime debut in the Pokemon Advanced episode Get the Show on the Road, where it was chosen by Ash's traveling companion May as her starter Pokemon, and it stayed with her the entire time. In the Hoenn games, Torchic can be chosen by you to be your signature Pokemon as well as partner, but if you happen to go with Trico, your rival will then choose Torchic and it'll be their signature Pokemon. In 2013, a very special mystery gift Torchic was given out to players who had the games Pokemon X and Y. This Torchic was much different as instead of the ability Blaze, it had the ability Speed Boost. It was also holding the Blazikenite. After all, down the line when it would evolve, it could also Mega Evolve. Since Torchic in those games was unavailable, it was kind of fun to have it. Also, it was one of the very first times in a Core Series game we got to take a Pokemon from a different region on our side throughout the first playthrough. In the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series, you can also be turned into a Torchic, but this will only happen if you're a boy and you have a hasty nature, or a girl if you have a rash or sassy nature. In the manga, the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Ginny's Rescuing Team manga, a Torchic is the main character as, after all, protagonist Ginny is turned into one by a Ninetales curse. In the Pokemon Adventures manga, Sapphire, who's actually May's counterpart in the manga, received herself a Torchic from her father, Professor Birch, which she names Chick. And in a few Super Smash Bros. Games, Torchic is a Pokemon that can be taken out of the Pokeball. What it uses is Overheat, which burns other players close by it. When looking at a Torchic, you're looking at a hot chick. I apologize, but it's kind of true. And hey, it might be small, but it definitely has a lot of power. But if you want to see what this Pokemon's fighting spirit is all about, well, it's time we evolve our little chick into Combusken. And trust me, this is a wildfire with fighting spirit. Combusken, the young fowl Pokemon, is based on cockfighting chickens. Stop laughing, it's not funny. It's also based on the Basin, which is a legendary fire-breathing chicken from Japanese folklore. Combusken has a gender difference as the feather crest on top of its head with the 3 orange points is smaller on a female while it's larger on a male. And as you can tell by mine is 100% a female Combusken. Other than using its fire power, Combusken's true power is its fighting spirit, which it gets from its legs. Combusken toughens up its legs by running through the fields and the mountains, and that's only just a warm-up. It does a lot of exercises too, but something that you should know is Combusken's legs possess both speed and power that it can let loose 10 kicks per second. Since it uses its legs for so many battles, a lot of people have dubbed a Combusken the master of kicking. Other than using its legs as well as its brute strength, Combusken also use firepower. After all, it's a fire and fighting type Pokemon. Something that you should know about this Pokemon is not only does it spew very hot flames from its beak, but at the same time, the angrier, the more stressed or pushed to its limit a Combusken is, the hotter its flames will be. Other than its firepower and its legs, Combusken's voice is also very useful in battle. Combusken emit a very sharp cry that it uses to intimidate its foes, and it also boosts its concentration. But something you should know is that Combusken's cries are so loud that they could shatter glass. Yep, that is one powerful cock-a-doodle-doo. If you have a Combusken, whatever you do, be careful when touching its feathers, and don't ruffle them either. You see, Combusken can actually ignite its own feathers, and also control any of its body heat when needed. So yeah, if this Pokemon was to train in the mountains where there's a lot of snow, it can do all the training it wants and not be worried or even be affected by the environment around it. Combusken made its anime debut in the Pokemon Advanced Challenge episode, A Shroomish Skirmish, where it was Maze Torchic that evolved into Combusken, which took on the Shroomish leader, a Breloom. After they fought, they worked together to fight Team Rocket and became friends. In the Hoenn games, after you choose Torchic, you can evolve it into Combusken, but if you happen to go the Trico route, instead your rival will have a Combusken on their team. So yeah, the Combusken will be their signature Pokemon. When Torchic evolves into Combusken, it automatically learns the move Double Kick. Let me tell you, since the first gym leader in the Hoenn region you're gonna fight is Roxanne, keep that move. Fighting is a rock type's worst nightmare, and also, even after you beat the gym leader, keep that move. You don't know how many situations that Double Kick is really going to get you out of. It's a move that you should always have with it at all times. In the Pokemon Adventures manga, Sapphire's Torchic later on evolved into Combusken, and this Pokemon helped her beat many other gym leaders in her journey. If you're not a big fan of firefighting, let me tell you something that you should know. Combusken was the very first firefighting Pokemon, and back then, it was rather unique as there had never been another firefighting Pokemon. But unfortunately, that typing would be repeated for the next two regions were the fire starters in both the Sinnoh and the Unova region, with both Chimchar and Tepig's lines respectively. So while it was such a cool typing, it got old really fast. With how much Combusken really liked to kick things, as well as make fireballs, it makes me wonder that if any of them in the Galar region are friends with Cinderace. After all, Cinderace does the move Pyro Ball, and it also likes to kick. So, maybe they could have their own soccer or football team up in Galar. How do you like your chicken? Spicy? Hot? Burned? Well, let me tell you, Combusken is one hot chicken that you will never forget. Not only does it have a kick to it, but it also will burn you out. Also, since this Pokemon really likes to fight, it'll never back down from a challenge. But if you want to see what a hot chicken with full firepower is, then let's evolve our Combusken into Blaziken! And trust me, this is a chicken that goes inferno! Blaziken the Blaze Pokemon is based on cockfighting chickens, as well as Basan, the legendary fire-breathing chicken from Japanese folklore, but it also draws inspiration as a hybrid of the Japanese Shamo chicken, which are known for its mane and uptight posture, and also it draws a lot of inspiration from the Egyptian gods Horus and Ra. For those of you who don't know, Blaziken has a gender difference, and it's in males, they have longer hair and they have longer masks. It might be hard to tell, but the Blaziken I have currently is actually a female because it has a shorter mask and shorter hair. Here's a little fun fact for you. Blaziken is currently the tallest fire-type starter as it stands at a whopping 6'3". Yep, to this day, there has never been another fire-type starter final evolution that has ever surpassed Blaziken's height. Blaziken has incredibly strong legs, and these legs aren't made just for kicking and for battle. You see, this Pokemon is so agile that Blaziken can clear a 30-story building in a single leap, and it can land perfectly fine on its feet without feeling any pain or any damage from the impact. You may not notice this, but my Blaziken is actually in a very calm and relaxed mood. If it wasn't, it would be ready to battle and be very angry because its wrist would be igniting right now. Yeah, that's a big way you can tell if a Blaziken is in a chill mood or if it's in a battle/angry mood. Blaziken will never back down from a battle. Even if an opponent is stronger than it, it will always fight for its pride. In battle, Blaziken blows out intense flames from both of its wrists to attack its foes with everything it's got. The stronger its foe is, the more intensely that this Pokemon's wrist will burn. When Blaziken battles, it uses everything it's got on it. Both of its hands, both of its legs, and of course its beak. Since this Pokemon's flames are so intense, its opponent will always be left scorched and blackened after fighting a Blaziken. Blaziken have so many fighting styles. Not only are they just wrestlers, they're also masters of martial arts. And surprisingly, not only do some karate, kung fu, or taekwondo masters keep these Pokemon with them, they also teach humans and Pokemon alike in the wild. Before other Pokemon could learn this move, Blaze Kick was the signature move of Blaziken. And doesn't that seem like a match made in heaven? A Pokemon that uses its legs for fighting, using a fire kick? I think that's the most perfect move for Blaziken ever. Blaziken made its anime debut a region early in the Pokemon Master Quest episode, Pop Goes the Sneasel, under the ownership of Ash's rival, Harrison. Harrison's Blaziken also is infamously known for beating Ash's Charizard despite being disadvantaged at the Silver Conference. It's kind of crazy that Ash's Charizard seemed like the likely winner, yet it failed to Harrison's Blaziken. If you ask me, I still think that we need a redo of that battle. In Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, your rival will have a Blaziken as their star Pokemon if you started off with a Trico. This is actually a new feature as well as a new battle, because the last battle you ever had with them was in Lilycove City, and their final evolution for their starter was never achieved, which is pretty interesting to think that we got a new incredible final battle. In a few games at Battle Frontier, Arcade Star Dahlia, who could be fought at the Battle Arcade, will have a Blaziken on her team as her signature Pokemon. In the Pokemon Adventures manga, Sapphire herself owns Chick, who was her little Torchic that became a Combusken and now a Blaziken that has helped her in many battles. Blaziken was also the very first starter Pokemon I ever fully evolved, and I have to say, looking back at this Pokemon makes me very happy that I chose it. I had a lot of victories in my Emerald version, and I have never forgotten any of those gym battles as well as Team Aqua and Team Magma battles that we fought together. Starting off with a Fire-type Pokemon oftentimes puts you at an advantage, as you oftentimes don't find Fire-type very early in the game, but they also have a lot of weaknesses. Since Torchic is the only pure Fire-type of its family, it has different weaknesses than the others. Do not use it against Water, Rock, and Ground. While it has a couple of weaknesses, as it gains a dual typing, it gains more, so let's check out its other evolution's weaknesses. As soon as Torchic evolves into Combusken, it automatically gains the Fighting type, so now this Pokemon has a couple more weaknesses than what it had before. But let's check out everything. For Combusken and Blaziken's weakness, do not use them against Water, Ground, Psychic, and Flying. While it has a bunch of weaknesses, why don't we turn things around and look at everyone's strengths? Trust me, they have many that can help you out in a battle. If you like your Pokemon getting super effective moves, then look no further to use your Torchic against Pokemon that are Grass, Bug, and Ice. Yep, Torchic has 3 weaknesses, but it also has 3 strengths. Now, I think it's time we see what its other evolutions have for their strengths. After all, they gain a dual typing, so they have plenty more. When using a Fire and Fighting Pokemon competitively in battle, it has a lot of strengths. If you want to win fights, use Blaziken or Combusken against Bug, Dark, Steel, Rock, Grass, Ice, and Normal. If you think about it, your father also owned a Normal-type gym leader. So if you chose a Blaziken, this was going to be one of the easiest battles you ever had and an easy badge to obtain. Of course you had to get there, but of course you showed your father how strong you were. Torchic, Combusken, and Blaziken have a fighting spirit that burns brighter than the sun. Not only do they never give up, but if they have to challenge a stronger opponent, they'll do it without any hesitation. And yeah, even if they're weakened, that makes them even dangerous because of their ability Blaze, which powers up their Fire-type moves. Definitely brings truth to light, the saying, if you play with fire, you're gonna get burned. While many other games have come out and introduced other starters that are bird Pokemon, You have to admit, it was pretty unique at the time that this was the very first bird line ever introduced as starters. They definitely left their mark. Even though fire and fighting eventually became a typing that was blown out of proportion, it was still pretty cool as there had been no other typings before then. And I have to say, it was kind of nice to finally see a fire type now be something that wasn't a mammal, because for the next few regions, we'd get a lot of fire type mammals. So seeing them as birds was definitely a welcome sight. When looking back at the beta designs, it's crazy to think that Torchic at one point had wings on its head, and it's also crazy to think that Latias and Blaziken were almost one Pokemon. I'm glad it's two separate Pokemon, but it does make you wonder, what do you think Combusken would have been on its own? We'll never know, sadly, but let's be happy with the line we got. Even though Latias and Blaziken are different Pokemon, I am very happy that they decided to keep them that way instead of being one Pokemon. I wonder what typing it would have been, and also how this line would have worked. It's crazy how much time flies. It feels like just yesterday was my birthday, and I got both Pokemon Emerald and my Game Boy. I remember holding that game and thinking, is this going to be fun? Well, little did I know, this would be the most unforgettable adventure I would ever go on. I remember hearing Professor Birch on Route 101 crying out for help, being chased by a wild Zigzagoon. I had to choose a Pokemon to save him, and of course, it was Torchic. We destroyed that Zigzagoon, and after that, we became partners. I named my Torchic Big Red, and also, it was a female Torchic. So, she and I went on so many adventures in the Hoenn region. We took on trainers, gym leaders, Team Magma and Team Aqua Grunts, and we even took on the Elite Four, and finally the champion. But as the journey went on, Torchic evolved into Combusken and then Blaziken. That was an unforgettable adventure. We even took on Battle Frontier, got all the gold symbols, and we even caught legendary Pokemon. I never could have become the trainer I am today without Torchic. So, Torchic, Combusken, Blaziken, thank you so much for what you did. It's because of you I'm the trainer and Pokemon professor I am today. Oh, hey trainers. Ooh, it is clucking hot in this lab. Well, then again, we are talking about some fire-type Pokemon, so that is a key factor. As incredible as Torchic, Combusken, and Blaziken's line is, I think that it was incredible what we got in Generation 6 with Mega Evolution. We're finally going to see Blaziken at its full power. For me, this is what you call hot chicken. Thanks to Professor Sycamore's research in the Kalos region, we finally got to see Blaziken at its true power when it would Mega Evolve into the behemoth Mega Blaziken. And trust me, this is a terrifying firefighting you would never want to mess with. When Blaziken Mega Evolves into Mega Blaziken, not only does its fire and fighting powers get stronger, but this Pokemon becomes as fast as a bullet. With its ability Speed Boost, it can never be stopped. After all, if you ever watched the very first episode of Pokemon X and Y, where Ash was saved by Blaziken Mask and his Mega Blaziken, you'll know just how fast a Mega Blaziken can be, not just in battle, but for anywhere it needs to go. If you remember back to what I said about Torchic, that little Torchic that you got in Pokemon X and Y would evolve into this incredible creature. Something that you might not have realized is back in Pokemon X and Y, Blaziken was the only Pokemon capable of Mega Evolution that was not native to the Kalos region. Oftentimes when Pokemon Mega Evolve, it really hurts them, but thankfully for Blaziken's case, that does not happen. Instead, this Pokemon becomes stronger, faster, and even hotter. Just to give you an example, this Pokemon's fighting style can never be predicted. It has so many different ways it can fight that you'll never know what it's going to do next. Also, its legs have gotten so strong that it could send a freight train flying in just a single kick. And its flames, let me tell you, getting hit by one of these flames is equal to being hit by a solar flare. I'll be honest, having this Pokemon on my team was incredible back in Pokemon Y version when I first got it. This was the Pokemon that won me the battle against Diantha. Yeah, odds were against me because of her Gardevoir that was Mega Evolved, but in the end, I pulled through and I never could have beaten the Kalos League without this incredible firefighter. Thank you so much, Blaziken. You have done so much for me in my life, and I'm glad that you were my very first Pokemon of all time. Well, it's really clucking hot in here, so I think that's all we can go for now. But I'm really curious to hear from you, trainers. I'd like to know, when you started your first journey, who was your first starter Pokemon? There's no wrong choice. Whoever you want as a starter is a perfect choice. As you know, with me, Torchic was mine. But for those of you who played in the Hoenn region, was Torchic your first starter Pokemon? Was it maybe the Trico line? Or was it even the Mudkip line? I hope that you really enjoyed your Hoenn region with that starter Pokemon. And I also really hope that whoever was your very first Pokemon, you enjoyed going through that entire region with them. If they're still in that game, maybe play it again and say hi to that starter. It's probably been many years, many months, who knows. But to be fair, go there, say hello to them, because they are the first friend you ever made in that region, and they've brought you so many places and so many victories. It would be so sad not to say hi to them and remember all the good times you had with them. Well, if you liked what you saw, please leave a like. If you have any ideas you want me to turn into videos, or you want me to also cover the other Hoenn starters or other Pokemon, please comment. And as always, if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, smash that subscribe button. Thank you once again for 100 videos. And thank you once again, Scorpion, for the request of this video. I hope that you enjoyed it very much. Thanks for watching. Palm out!